Iran's GDP is smaller than Texas's. Its army isn't among the world's 10 most powerful. Its conventional navy is full of old ships with 1970s tech. And yet this country can hold the entire planet hostage with a single finger on the trigger of a passage 21 kilometers wide. How does a sanctioned country, economically isolated, get to threaten 20% of all the oil in the world? The answer isn't aircraft carriers, it isn't nuclear bombs. It's something a lot smarter and a lot scarier, a layered architecture of destruction built over decades, piece by piece, inside and around the Strait of Hormuz. A trap so sophisticated that American generals themselves admit neutralizing it would be slow, costly, and bloody. Over the next few minutes, we're going to take that trap apart piece by piece. You'll see exactly how Iran built the ability to shut the planet's most important corridor and why that capability is real, tested, and ready to use. Before we talk missiles, fast boats, or mines, you need to get why the Strait of Hormuz is a geographic nightmare for any force trying to defend it. Look at this map. The strait is only 39 kilometers wide at its narrowest point. But commercial ships can't use all 39 kilometers. Shallow water and reefs force supertankers through 2 lanes, just 2 miles wide each. 1 in, 1 out, with a 2-mile buffer zone between them. That means a 300-meter ship loaded with 2 million barrels of oil doing 15 knots has basically zero room to maneuver. If something shows up ahead, it doesn't dodge. It stops, or it sinks. And who controls the north side of that lane? Iran. The Iranian coast is a natural wall, mountainous, cut with cliffs, riddled with caves and coves where small boats, mobile missile launchers, and weapons caches can hide with ease. Conventional radar doesn't see what's inside those caves. Satellites only get a look when the gear is out in the open. To cap it off, the water at the strait's narrowest point is only about 60 meters deep, a little over 200 feet. That's shallow enough for bottom-anchored naval mines to sit in the perfect position to tear open the hull of any ship that passes. Geography isn't just an advantage for Iran, it's the first line of defense, and it didn't cost a single dollar to build. Now look at the 3 red dots inside the strait itself, the islands of Qeshm, Larak, and Abu Musa, and they're maybe Iran's most valuable strategic assets, because they sit right on top of the shipping routes. Don't think of them as islands. Think of them as immobile aircraft carriers Iran planted in the middle of the world's busiest choke point. Qeshm is the largest and the deadliest. It's the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC's primary military hub in the Persian Gulf. Under its rugged terrain lies a maze of underground bunkers housing mobile anti-ship missile launchers, drone bases, and radar sites. It's not a barracks, it's a military city buried inside an island. Larak is the strangler. Sitting right in the throat of the strait, it's from there that IRGC fast boats can reach any ship in transit in a matter of minutes. Iran has deployed hundreds of fast attack craft at 16 strategic points around the island, ready to launch simultaneous strikes in any direction. Drones launch from there to monitor ships at anchor. If a captain fires up the engines without clearance, the boats close in. If they push it, they take fire. Abu Musa is the forward lookout, farther south, working like a giant radar that picks up any Allied vessel approaching the Gulf long before it reaches the strait. From there, Iran can track US carrier battle groups hours in advance, letting the whole defense stack, spin up in time. Together, the 3 islands form a triangle of control inside the corridor itself. For any ship passing through the strait, it's literally sailing between enemy bases. If the islands are the structure, the fast boats are the fist. The IRGC's naval doctrine is built around a concept called swarm attack. The idea is simple and brutal. Instead of a few big, expensive ships, you throw hundreds of small, fast, cheap boats from every angle at once. The goal isn't necessarily to sink the enemy ship right away. The goal is to overload the defenses, A modern American destroyer can engage 3 or 4 threats at once with its automated systems. Against 20, 30, 50 boats coming from different directions, the system chokes, and that's when missiles get fired from the boats that got close enough. The IRGC's newest fast boat classes, the Shahid Soleimani and Siraj 1, are built in fiberglass or aluminum with a twin hull catamaran design. That slashes their radar signature and makes them hard to spot. Some hit 75 to 110 knots, over 200 kilometers per hour on the water. No conventional warship can keep up. Each boat packs anti-ship missiles, heavy machine guns, and shoulder-fired missiles for air targets. Some are set up as suicide craft, remotely piloted surface drones loaded with explosives driven straight into the target's hull. When Iran launches a full swarm, the attack sequence is precise. The fast boats ring the target 360 degrees, aim for the bridge to blind the captain, then for the engine room to leave the ship dead in the water. Stopped inside the narrowest corridor on Earth, with nowhere to maneuver, the ship becomes a sitting duck for the next stages of the attack. If the fast boats are the fist, the missiles are the sword. Iran's anti-ship arsenal is broad, diverse, and built specifically to make American defense expensive and hard. It isn't a one-missile system. It's overlapping layers of different threats, each one stressing a different part of the defense. The first layer is coastal cruise missiles, like the Nor, a reworked version of the Chinese C-802. They're fired from mobile trucks that roll out of caves on the coast and the islands, launch, and vanish back into the hills before American aircraft can hit back. Those missiles skim the sea just a few meters off the water to stay under the radar. When they pop up on a destroyer's screen, reaction time is down to seconds. The second layer is anti-ship ballistic missiles, the ASBMs. That's the most dangerous category and the one that worries American strategists the most. Unlike cruise missiles, ballistic missiles arc up, leave the atmosphere, and dive back down at high speed right on top of the target ship. Iran has developed 4 different ASBM types over the last few years, fitting some with satellite navigation and control surfaces to steer them through the final dive. The defense problem for the US became obvious in the war against the Houthis in Yemen, a smaller conflict that doubled as a live lab. In just 7 months of operations, the destroyer USS Carney took part in 51 engagements against missiles and drones, burning through more than 120 SM-2 missiles and 80 SM-6s, the latter running $4 to $6 million apiece. The US Navy's resupply capacity is limited. Iran can launch cheap missiles faster than the US, can build the expensive ones to shoot them down, but of all the tools in Iran's kit, there's one American troops describe as the hardest to neutralize. It isn't the flashiest, it's the quietest: naval mines. The US Defense Intelligence Agency estimates Iran holds between 5,000 and 6,000 naval mines in inventory. Among them are sophisticated models like the Maham-3 and Maham-7, limpet mines that latch straight onto hulls and detonate with surgical precision. The advantage of mines is brutal in the strait's geometry. The water at the narrowest point is only 60 meters deep. Shipping lanes are fixed and narrow. Ships can't leave them. A mine sitting on the bottom of one of those lanes doesn't need guidance. The ship comes to it, and laying mines is fast. IRGC fast boats can slip out of coves along the Iranian coast, drop mines in the traffic lanes, and be back before US surveillance can coordinate a response. It doesn't run at Hollywood speed, but Iran doesn't need it to. It only needs to lay mines faster than the US can sweep them. Here's the stat that stops admirals cold. In 1991, during the Gulf War, Iraq laid roughly 1,000 mines in the Gulf. An Allied naval force with more than a dozen dedicated mine warfare ships took almost 2 months to clear the Kuwaiti coast at an average of about 1 mine per day. Sweep tech has improved since then with underwater drones. But Iran's mine stockpile is 5 times what Iraq's was in that war. And then there's the newest layer, the one that's shifting the balance in the strait fast. Drones, in the air and on the water. Iran has built a significant fleet of unmanned surface vehicles, USVs, purpose-built for operations in the strait. Depending on the model, range runs from 40 to 200 kilometers. They're autonomous or remotely piloted, packed with explosives, able to run a low radar profile straight into a warship's hull. In the air, IRGC drones are well documented from the war in Yemen, where Iranian types were used by the Houthis in hundreds of attacks. The difference in the Strait of Hormuz is geographic density. The space is so small that a drone launched from the Iranian coast can reach any point in the shipping lanes in minutes without needing long endurance. What makes drones especially nasty is the cost asymmetry. An Iranian suicide drone might run $20,000 to $50,000. The missile needed to kill it safely before it hits. A ship can cost $500,000 to $6 million depending on the system. That means Iran can throw 100 drones for the price of a single American defensive missile. The math favors the attacker. Combined with fast boats, mines, and coastal missiles, drones create a multi-threat, simultaneous environment that forces any defender into impossible calls in seconds. The obvious question at this point is, why doesn't the US, with the most powerful military in history, just roll into the strait and wipe all of this out? The honest answer is they can, but it'd be a lot slower, harder, and costlier than it looks. The first problem is bunkers. Iranian missile launchers are buried in mountains and islands. To destroy them, the US needs deep penetrator bombs, the famous 5,000-pound bunker busters, dropped by specific bombers on high-risk runs into enemy fire. In March 2026, the US announced for the first time that it had successfully struck Iranian anti-ship missile depots near the strait with 2.3-ton penetrator bombs. But knocking out a few depots isn't the same as killing the whole system. The second problem is numbers. Even under heavy airstrikes, the US reported destroying more than 140 Iranian naval vessels in the first weeks of direct conflict in 2026. But Iran started that phase with about 200 surface craft, and part of the fleet survived by hiding in caves and coastal coves that precision strikes can't reach. The third problem is mines. Even if you wipe out all missile launch capacity and the entire fastboat fleet, the mines already on the corridor floor are still there. Clearing them is painstaking, dangerous, meter-by-meter work across tens of square kilometers of currents, limited visibility, and the ever-present chance of new mines being laid from subs or boats that slipped through the strikes. Bottom line, clearing the Strait of Hormuz of every Iranian threat is a weeks or months-long operation, not days. And every day that passes, the world pays the price in oil at $150, $160, $200 a barrel. So here's the central paradox in everything you've just seen. Iran has the arsenal, it has the geography, it has the islands, the missiles, the mines, the drones, and the boats. The infrastructure is there, built over decades, layer by layer, for exactly this moment. And yet, the button's never been pushed all the way. Why? Because Iran's most powerful weapon isn't closing the strait, it's the threat of closing it. As long as the strait stays technically open, even if it's tense, even if there are sporadic attacks, even if freight and marine insurance go through the roof, Iran keeps maximum leverage. The moment it actually closes, two things happen at once. The world goes into economic meltdown, and the US gets a global political mandate for a total, unrestricted military response. Iran knows a full, prolonged closure would mean the end of the regime, not because they'd lose the naval war in the strait overnight, but because the American response would be on a scale they can't absorb. So the game goes on. Iran pulls the trigger halfway, fires a few missiles, seizes a ship here, drops a few mines there, pushes oil up 20%, 30% without ever crossing the line that would make overwhelming retaliation inevitable and politically justified. It's the most sophisticated strategy there is. Build a weapon so destructive that using it fully would also be suicide, and therefore the weapon never has to be fired to work. The finger's always on the trigger, and the whole world knows it. The question nobody can answer is, what happens on the day Iran decides it has nothing left to lose?